Hey friends, this is Derrick Broze with the Conscious Resistance Network, and today we're going to talk about 5G, specifically how the New Yorker is finally waking up to 5G dangers. But before we do that, I want to let you guys know that what you are watching right now is an exclusive report for Minds.com, the social network, blockchain-based social network that I have recently partnered with as part of the Divest from Facebook campaign. As part of the Divest from Facebook campaign, you can expect to see 1 to 2 exclusive pieces of content that we posted on Minds.com first, before making their way to other social media platforms and other websites. So I also would like to remind you guys to bookmark theconsciousresistance.com. If you are new and you haven't seen our website before, you can get our latest articles and videos on a range of topics, and you can find more info about the Divest from Facebook campaign. You can also subscribe to our weekly newsletter. But let's jump right into this. So this is coming from the New Yorker. This is called The Terrifying Potential of the 5G Network, which is a pretty bold and important title. And as we're going to read through this, you're going to see that Sue Halpern, who is the journalist who wrote this, she actually does a pretty good job of examining the whole situation going on with 5G. You can check out her Twitter account here. She said, "Until I started reporting this story, I didn't give much thought to 5G. Mistake." And then you can see this was also tweeted out by Robert Wendt, economist with the Dutch Scientific Council for Government Policy, says that this is an important long read by Sue Halpern. So you definitely want to check this one out. Her subtitle says, "The future of wireless technology holds the promise of total connectivity, but it will also be susceptible to cyber attacks and surveillance." So thankfully she's calling this out. And as I said, this article goes into looking at the kind of race to 5G and how the race to 5G is really a battle, trade war. It's part of the United States, Donald Trump's trade war against the Chinese companies, because the two main companies pushing this on the United States side, you have Sprint and Verizon, and then on the Chinese side, you have companies like Huawei, who has been accused of working as a puppet for the Chinese government. And Donald Trump has issued executive orders and called on American companies to ban Huawei's equipment for fears that they might use it to spy on Americans and things of that sort. Of course, the reality, and which is acknowledged in this article, thankfully, is that all of this equipment, whether it's made by Americans or made by Chinese companies, it could be used to spy and to monitor on individuals. That's a big danger of the 5G network, for those who might not be aware. I've previously done interviews with attorneys with the American Civil Liberties Union who said that 5G could, quote, be a wolf in sheep's clothing. So let's get a little further into this. You know, if you're really going to want to read this yourself to kind of get an understanding of the battle between Huawei and American companies, as she notes here, the Times of London recently reported that the CIA has evidence that Huawei has taken money from the People's Liberation Army as well as from branches of the Chinese intelligence service. Australia, Japan, and New Zealand have joined with the United States in banning Huawei hardware from the networks. Now, the reality, though, is that the CIA claims it has that evidence, but we haven't seen that as individuals, as the public. They just have claimed they have evidence, but they haven't put it forward yet. Now, we can also go on here and see that the European Union is poised to reject American entreaties with individual countries like Portugal and Germany, expressing a willingness to use Huawei equipment. So she does a good job of outlining the 5G Huawei and American kind of battle back and forth, but we should look a little further. Now check this out. It says, according to James Baker, the former FBI general counsel who runs the national security program at the R Street Institute, quote, "There's a concern that those devices that are connected to the 5G network are not going to be very secure from a cyber perspective. That presents a huge vulnerability for the system because those devices can be turned into bots, for example, and you can have a massive botnet that can be used to attack different parts of the network." Now, she also mentions that Tom Wheeler, former FCC chairman under the Obama administration, who also was corrupted by the telecom industry, he recently published an op-ed in the New York Times titled, "If 5G is so important, why isn't it secure?" calling out the Trump administration for failing to take cybersecurity into account. But again, remember that the FCC has been corrupted under both Democratic and Republican administrations. It doesn't matter. They're all controlled by big telecom, and that's why the regulations on 5G were written in 1996, and they haven't been updated since then. So let's get a little deeper right here. She's talking about the wireless bands for 5G being opened up. Donald Trump, of course, said that he supports 5G and even 6G. Now, here we get to the actual health costs where she starts talking about this. She notes, as we have talked about previously, that in February, Senator Richard Blumenthal, a Democrat from Connecticut, took both the FCC and the FDA to task for pushing ahead 5G without assessing its health risks. He said, "We're kind of flying blind here," he concluded. She also notes that 2 years ago, 180 scientists and doctors from 36 countries appealed to the European Union for a moratorium on 5G adoption until the effects of the expected increase in low-level radiation were studied. Now, here's another important part. She says, quote, "A system built on millions of cell relays, antennas, and sensors offers previously unthinkable surveillance potential. Telecom companies already sell your location data to marketers, and law enforcement have used similar data to track protesters. 5G will catalog exactly where someone has come from, where they're going, and what they are doing." Now, this is painting a pretty dark picture here. She acknowledges that in China, which has already installed 350,000 5G relays, about 10 times the amount in the United States, enhanced geolocation, coupled with an expansive network of surveillance cameras, each equipped with facial recognition technology, has enabled authorities to track and subordinate the country's 11 million Uyghur Muslims. According to the Times, quote, "The practice makes China a pioneer in applying next-generation technology to watch its people, potentially ushering in a new era of automated racism." Now, she does say the United States is not there yet, and they may never be. But as 5G comes on board, we do have the potential to see more surveillance from individuals, business, and governments. Quote, "Building safeguards into these systems seems like an obvious and necessary goal." Now, she talks about one of the persons she interviewed here says, he warns that the danger is not limited to a single nation state. Exactly. This is not just about are the Chinese going to spy and monitor on Americans. This is about how anybody, any country, any nation with this power, with the amount of sensors and relays and small cell devices that are going to be established for the Internet of Things network, or the 5G network, has the potential to listen in and to watch and to monitor everything that their citizens are doing. Now, she quotes this guy here, says, quote, "What is existential to democracy is allowing totalitarian regimes or any government full knowledge of everything you do at all times. Because the tendency is always going to be to want to regulate how you think, how you act, and what you do. The problem is that most people don't think very hard about what that world would look like." And this is exactly true. We see that most people, if they know anything about 5G at all, it's what they're hearing from Sprint, from AT&T, that it's going to be 100 times faster. They're going to have 8K movies. They're going to be able to stream everything they want. Automated vehicles, virtual reality, augmented reality, smart devices everywhere. And people are not considering the implications of where this goes and what this means. But it's up to you guys to share this information, to share this knowledge. And thankfully, we now have New Yorker waking up to this. Myself, I've been talking about this for almost a year. Other people have been talking about this for a couple of years. I did a report a few months back about how Wired magazine actually woke up to this too. And maybe we can see more support as more and more people wake up to this. I mean, a lot of these corporate newspapers and corporate magazines aren't going to question this because, well, they're getting funded by some of the same telecom lobby. If you don't know, the CTIA, the Cellular Telephone Internet Association, is a very powerful lobby which is involved with all sorts of politicians. Here in Houston, where I'm from, the mayor of Houston has received the 5G Wireless Champion Award for his work with the telecom lobby. Now, I want to just give you guys a look at one more story here that is brand new that I just found. It's coming from the Environmental Health Trust. It says another congressperson seeks answers from the FCC and FDA on 5G radio frequency health impacts. As we just noted a moment ago, Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut questioned the FCC and the FDA back in February when he sent a letter to the FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr seeking answers regarding potential health risks posed by 5G wireless technology. Fortunately, he didn't really get much of an answer back. He just basically got the same old answers. They didn't actually dig deep. But now we have Representative Peter DeFazio, a Democrat from Oregon. He is the committee chairman for the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. On April 15th, he wrote a letter to FCC Chairman Ajit Pai and Acting FDA Commissioner Sharpless inquiring about the status of the government's research into the potential health effects of radiofrequency radiation and its relation to FCC guidelines for safe human RF exposure levels. Now, as Sue Halpern notes in this article here for the New Yorker, and as the senator is apparently aware, as the senator notes here, that the FCC's regulations have not been updated since 1996. And so those regulations are over 20 years old, and some have shown that even with those regulations that were established in 1996, that there have already been negative health effects found at those levels. Representative DeFazio pointed out that although the commission sought comment on whether its RF safety guidelines should be reassessed in 2013, no further action has been taken, and the guidelines have not been updated since their implementation in 1996. The letter asked for details on the health-related studies conducted and what efforts have been taken by the agencies to educate and inform the public about its radio frequency 5G technology research. And you can see the full letter right here. I'll put all these links in the description below. But there you have it. We have another congressperson questioning the safety of 5G after Senator Richard Blumenthal and others have questioned it. We have hundreds of doctors from different countries around the world questioning it. We now have the New Yorker, Wired magazine questioning the dangerous potential of 5G. We have health professionals, and for those of you who paid attention to the Conscious Resistance Network channel, we've interviewed the executive director of the Environmental Health Trust. We recently interviewed Dr. Martin Paul of Washington State University on the negative health effects. You can find all of these interviews on theconsciousresistance.com, and we're going to keep up on this story, guys. We're going to keep you updated, and as there's more information coming, I will share it with you. Until then, though, please do stay tuned to theconsciousresistance.com, because that's where you can make sure to get all of our latest content. And as I said, this is part of our Divest from Facebook campaign, where we are going to be putting out exclusive content on minds.com. It'll be there for a couple of days before it makes it elsewhere. And if you want to make sure you're seeing that latest content, then please do follow us on minds.com. We'll put all the links below. And I think that's it for now, guys. Just wanted to give you an update, show you what's happening in 5G news. Until next time, remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free. Peace.